Tackle Junkies, what's going on, fellas? Today we're going to talk about my top 5 lures for wintertime fishing. As you guys can see how I'm dressed out here, it's definitely wintertime here in the Midwest. Air temp today is like 36 for the high. We already checked the water temp earlier. It was 36 to 37, so we're definitely wintertime here in the Midwest. Fishing is very tough right now. The lakes that I normally fish with my boat that you guys normally see, I mean, they're muddy water lakes. Usually when it's 50 degrees and dropping, I don't even bother going to those lakes just because I know how the bite is. And you know, when you have muddy water, cold muddy water, it's a terrible combo to deal with. And it's kind of what I dealt with out here today. I expected these ponds to be kind of clear, and with all the rain that we just had, I mean, the one lake's pretty much flooded over there. The boat's actually on top of the concrete dock there. But like I said, lakes are flooded, pretty muddy and stained up. But you guys want to see how that fishing trip went, check out the video that I did before. But again, we're going to go over my top 5 baits for, you know, wintertime conditions. And first up is going to be the chatterbait. And I like to start out with the chatterbait anytime the water's cold, just to see how aggressive the fish are going to be. This is probably the most aggressive bait that I'll throw, you know, when the water's cold. And if I can't get bit on this, then I know I need to slow down with something else. But you guys ask all the time, you know, when would I throw a chatterbait over a spinnerbait? And that's pretty much when I would do that. When the water's cold like it is now, I prefer the chatterbait. It's not as aggressive as a spinnerbait with, you know, a few blades flashing and all that. Spinnerbaits rise a little more as well. I keep the chatterbait a little bit deeper. Again, this depends on your retrieve and weight and trailer and all that as well. It's got a nice tight vibration to it. I do better with the chatterbait when the water's cold. So anyways, chatterbait would be number 1 there. Plasma tail, you guys know, that is my go-to trailer for a chatterbait. It doesn't matter if the water's warm or the water's cold. That's one of my go-to trailers right there. I also like the Strike King blade minnow. It's another good one. But number 1, chatterbait. All right, from there, we're going to move on to the lipless crankbait. We got the Strike King red eye shad here. Killer bait. Gets bit. I mean, hard to beat for the price. $6-7 red eye shad. You can see here I got size 2 short shanks on there. I believe they come with a size 4. I go ahead and run the size 2 short shank just because I'm fishing this in more open water. I'm not dredging the bottom with it. I can get away with that bigger hook and not get snagged up. Now the 1.5 KVD 1.5, you can run 2 short shanks on those as well, but with those I'm dredging the bottom, or I'm, you know, bouncing it off rock and things like that. With that bigger hook, I tend to get snagged up more, but when I'm in more open water, I prefer the bigger hook if the bait can handle it. And like I said, the lipless here, no problem handling 2 number 2 short shanks. But a lipless would be my number 2 bait there. Colors I keep pretty simple. Just some type of sexy shad, white type color, you know, something with gold in it. And again, I'm just throwing it out, you know, reeling it in nice and slow, or I'm going to yo-yo it off the bottom, sweep the rod, things like that. Just a slower retrieve. You know, when the water's warmer, I'm going to burn it in and things like that. But when the water's cold like it is now, again, you want to work it slow, sweep your rod, yo-yo it off the bottom. Nice steady retrieve, nice and slow, where you can just feel the vibration. But number 2 is going to be the lipless crankbait. All right, number 3, we're going to move on to the jerkbait. One of my favorites. It's not great right now just because the water's a bit cold, fish are a bit deeper than what this bait will dive. But I love the Demiki Slim Jack. It's a great summertime lure as well. Out here, since the water is pretty shallow, I do well with this when the water's colder. But today I didn't have much luck with that at all. You know, a Strike King, jerkbait, Lucky Craft, something like that. Those work well as well. We got a little flash minnow in here. I don't want anything that's going to go too deep. Again, it all depends where you're fishing and how you're fishing. But you know, this pond here is pretty much like a fishbowl. You don't want something that's going to dive, you know, 10-12 feet out there just because you're going to get snagged up on the way in or just dredge on the bottom. So I like something that's going to run, again, 5-6 feet. Again, depending on how deep you're fishing. But you know, the pointers and all that, then will go down 5-6 feet. They're perfect for this. Suspending, you know, jerk, pause, things like that. Let them sit, and hopefully you can get bit like that. You know, I've done okay on a steady retrieve, but mostly when the water's this cold, just jerk it, let it pause, let it sit, and sometimes the longer the pause is what you need to get bit. So jerk, let it pause, who knows, 10, 20, 30 seconds, let it sit, and hopefully you can get bit. But jerkbait is going to be number 3. All right, moving on, number 4, we're going to go to the underspin. Now I just buy these little Picasso heads here, and I add the blade, which they sell separate as well, the little harness there. but you can run them with or without, again, depending if you want the flash or not. But Underspin is going to be number 4. And I like, you know, a little swim bait on there. Exo Swim is a great choice. Fighter Shad, that's a killer color right there. You know, I got this little swim bait here in my mystery tackle box. We're just looking for something small, a little small swim bait there. The little skinny dippers, things like that. That's a great little swim bait for an underspin as well. But just something you can throw out. It's not too invasive, you know, you're not going to put a huge trailer on there. You just want something with a small kick to it, creep it along the bottom, things like that. But an underspin would be number 4. I want to go over real fast too the rod that I use for those underspins. A lot of guys use spinning gear for light underspins, and I have no problem at all throwing like a little 1/8 on this combo right here with a small little trailer on it. This is the Martin APC. This is what I use for finesse type fishing with a baitcaster. You know, 10-12 pound test fluorocarbon. Like I said, the Martin APC. This is a 6.9, loads at an 1/8, max out at 3/4. It's great for finesse type fishing with a baitcaster. Number 5 is going to be the jig. And you guys ask me all the time if I still use YoloTek lures. If I got a jig tied on, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the YoloTek. I just don't throw jigs that often. You know, majority of the time I'm fishing, you know, muddy water, lakes or ponds. They got a mud bottom to it. I don't like to disturb the bottom too much because then you make it even harder to see. But if I'm going to throw a jig, it's going to be a YoloTek. Black, blue, and purple, killer color for muddy water. As far as trailer goes, you know, I want something with less action. You don't want to put a rage craw on when the water is 36 degrees just because it's not natural for something to be moving that fast. So I like a chunk, or I like a beaver type bait. You know, the vile bug, that's a good one there. Sweet beaver, rodent. You just want something with less action just because it's more natural for the conditions. So a jig is going to be number 5. Right now, if those 5 baits, you know, if I can't get bit on those 5 baits, that's when I'll bring out the finesse. And my go-to finesse deal is definitely a shaky head. You know, you got the plasma tail here. You can use a trick worm, you know, something like that. But, you know, working a shaky head on the bottom nice and slow can get you bit when the water is really cold. So even in the summertime when I struggle, a shaky head is my go-to finesse bait, and it works just as well in the wintertime as well when you're struggling to get bit. But that would be number 6 if I had to pull that out. Anyways, guys, that's my top 5 baits for wintertime fishing. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that thumbs up. Go ahead and leave a comment down below of your go-to 5 baits for wintertime fishing, and we will see you guys on the next one.